Hey, welcome to Sports and Politics with T. I'm your host, Tanya. Tonight we have made it back to Monday, guys. Listen, I hope everybody has enjoyed their weekend. We have made it, guys, all the way to October 20th. It's going into the last week of October, y'all. Let's go. All right, guys. Now, look, tonight we are going to talk about the government shutdown and some of the things that's been going on, some of the ramifications that's been taking place. People are still upset. People are outraged as far as the government not coming up with a solution. Meanwhile, millions of Americans, especially federal workers, are not getting paid, but they still have to go to work, which is causing major delays in airports, people not getting their money, people not being able to feed their families and pay their mortgages. This is outrageous, guys. And so we're going to look at this. We're going to look at two segments as far as talking about the government shutdown and what people are feeling as we speak. Now, also at the end of the show, we're going to talk about SNAP benefits, how that is going away as well. People are looking for the supplemental nutrition program. And guess what? We know EBT has been eliminated, but also SNAP benefits could be on the chopping block as well, which is going to affect over 600,000 people in America. I'm telling you guys, this government shutdown is a mess. Now, I'm going to tell you, we've had government shutdowns in the past. And like I said on the previous show, we typically kind of had a timeline as far as when this was going to end. But for some reason on this particular government shutdown, they're not letting up, guys. They haven't made a decision. And now I'm hearing that this may even carry over into November. So if it does, you're talking about millions of people not getting paid. Social Security benefits getting held. Internal Revenue Services is getting held. Airport delays is being affected because TSA, which checks your bags and things like that, they're not getting paid. And some of them are not even coming to work because they're not getting paid, so it's just going to be a disaster. But anyway, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to let you know how I feel about this once this is over, as far as what I feel about this government shutdown.
We've got to start with the government shutdown.
We do. And lawmakers are still in search of a deal to open the government. Clearly, until then, the shutdown just continues impacting federal workers, some programs, and the local economy.
Yeah, officially, third longest shutdown in history. The bronze medal, everybody. Congratulations. The only other times the government was shut down longer than this, Hillary, 1995, 21-day shutdown, and then we remember December 2018, right? 34 days.
I remember 1995.
I was 9. Unlike other shutdowns, though, the White House has taken aim at federal workers, either attempting to fire them or withhold their back pay for certain employees out there. Meanwhile, talks between congressional leaders have largely stalled. The back and forth continue in the media. This weekend, no exception.
All righty.
We have repeatedly and publicly and privately made clear to our colleagues on the other side of the aisle that we will sit down with them anytime, any place, with anyone, either at the Capitol or back at the Oval Office, to reopen the government, find a bipartisan path toward enacting a spending agreement that actually improves the quality of life of the American people.
I refuse to allow us to come back and engage in anything until the government's reopened when the Democrats do the right thing for the people. They're playing politics, and we have to use every ounce of leverage we have to make sure they do the right thing.
For the latest on this drawn-out battle over getting the government funded is Judy Kurtz. Judy, good to see you again.
Good morning to both of you.
We have each side thinking that they are in the proper position, that they are going to win over Americans. But the fact is, when you look at polling, not so much.
Yeah, not so much indeed. And it seems at this point, we've seen this rerun before. Everyone's ready to change the channel at this point. The Senate is poised to vote today for the 11th time on whether or not to end this government shutdown. I don't think the saying goes that the 11th time is the charm. No, I would not get my hopes up.
Haven't heard that one.
So we talked about how this shutdown has stood apart from others, and you look at the administration, the freezing of funding for projects that have already been approved in some Democratic cities. They've threatened to withhold that the furlough pay, the back pay for workers, and then the moving around of money to pay troops, which was a really big sticking point in the beginning that Congress sort of said, well, now we no longer have to deal with that because the president took care of that. But listen to what Rand Paul had to say about potentially having to vote ultimately to pay the troops because they could miss another paycheck.
So I opposed both. But it's not really that I oppose shutting the government down. So I'm in favor of paying the troops. I'm in favor of paying all of the employees that are currently working. And if that procedure or that vote comes before us next week, which I think there's a chance that it will, I will support that.
So Judy gets to the whole, the leaders are saying one thing, but the rank and file members are like, let's get this done.
Yeah, absolutely. And Senator Paul was the one Republican who voted along with Democrats to not reopen the government shutdown. He did that because he didn't want to increase the deficit. But there could be a vote in the Senate this week on paying the more than 1 million service members who are affected by this government shutdown. Republicans trying to spotlight the military families and their plight during the shutdown and really pin it on Democrats if they vote against that legislation that would pay them. Of course, President Trump also directed Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth to find available funds to pay service members. They found $8 billion worth of funds, but those are due to run out as well.
I found this really interesting. Reuters is reporting that the U.S. federal court system is getting ready to cut back some workers. They ran out of their funds. The judiciary did to keep things rolling. And for the first time in 30 years, the judiciary could be forced to furlough some of its 30,000 employees. So they will be adding to this big group of people that potentially is going to feel a lot of pain. I mean, we're starting to read stories about people who are thinking about what to liquidate so they can pay their bills.
Yeah, and I think we have some numbers, too, of the folks who are going to be affected by those missed paychecks. The Department of Defense and the Homeland Security that's going to affect 658,000 workers come October 24th this week. The 28th, more federal agencies are going to be impacted, 686,000 workers. And the Department of Education, the State Department, come the 30th, another 37,000 workers. Another interesting component of this that we spoke a little bit about earlier is the meme wars going on. This is the first time, the last government shutdown was in 2018. We didn't have, ChatGPT, the AI fights going on. So the mudslinging has now taken to artificial intelligence. You see there the NRSC released this AI video of Chuck Schumer saying that every day that the shutdown goes on, things get better for Democrats. And that was a real quote from Schumer, but he didn't do that kind of creepy grin saying it.
No, this was a quote on paper. He told Punchbowl News, and they reported it. And look, it made the rounds, certainly. You saw senators on the floor talking about, Chuck Schumer saying that every day gets better for us, but we know every day does not get better for all the federal workers out there, especially the folks here in our area. Pew released an analysis. Nearly half of government employees earn under $89,000 a year. That was going back to March of 2024. 8% earn less than $50,000. This has a real impact.
Oh, completely. And we've heard from, at that News Nation town hall last week, federal workers who are taking on side gigs or Uber drivers, DoorDash delivery workers just to make ends meet during this time when you're not getting a paycheck. You have rent to pay, you have grocery bills, you have child care. Life goes on even when you're not getting paid.
And not to mention, it's not a trivial thing, but the Smithsonian's shut down, so the D.C. tourism impact is felt a lot as well.
Right, and as we've talked about, all the contractors, it's not just the furloughed federal employees or the people who have been fired previously, it's the cafeteria workers or the cleaning crews, so it really does reverberate past
Absolutely
that.
does.
All right, well, we'll see what happens with that vote later today, but it looks like we're headed to day 21. But who knows? They could shock us.
The reruns. They keep
Thank you,
keep going.
Always glad to have you here back.
Thanks about you.
Thanks so much. We'll see you next hour.
So,
Okay.
All right, so you hear it, that this is affecting hundreds of thousands of federal workers, guys. We're talking about 653,000 people. It's carrying over even into the judicial system. They're going to be furloughed as well. I mean, like I said, we've had government shutdowns in the past. And like I said, this is going to be the largest one. And the longest one. The other ones didn't last quite as long, but this one, are working for free right now, and they can't afford to. I mean, just imagine you having to go to work, or some people just out of work altogether, but you're not getting paid. You're not getting paid. You have to do the job, and you're hoping that they'll make the decision soon so that they'll back pay you for all the time that you lost. But until then, they have no money coming in, guys. People have families, people have kids, people have bills. Okay, and what are we hearing from Donald Trump? Absolutely nothing. Okay, people keep saying, "Oh, he's doing a great job." Where? Tell me, please. I'd like to know. I don't see it. I don't think anybody sees it at this point. Okay, and this is the thing. It's not affecting them, so they don't care. I've said that since day one. They do not care. All right. So anyway, let's go on to the next thing. This is talking about air flights, and how the shutdown is causing major delays in cities when it comes to travel, because a lot of the TSA workers and some of the people that's even flying planes, they are federal people. And guess what? They're not getting paid either. Some of them are not going to work because they're not getting paid, which is causing delays in your baggage claims, with, getting tickets, flying the plane, everything. So anyway, let's listen in on this clip with CNN, and we'll dissect this video once it's over.
The United States are bracing right now for possible delays as air traffic control towers have seen major staffing shortages this week. Listen. We were the last flight to leave Atlanta to come back to O'Hare, so we knew we were going to be delayed. But we didn't know when we were going to get here, actually.
On the plane, unfortunately, I found that my flight to Cleveland been pushed back for 2.5 hours, so I'll be here with you a little longer today.
Air traffic controllers are considered essential workers, so they're required to work without pay during the government shutdown. The Transportation Secretary, Sean Duffy, says more controllers are calling out sick. And with staffing already tight, even a small number of controllers taking unscheduled time off can cause major disruptions. Joining us now from Reagan National Airport, just outside of Washington, D.C., is CNN's Pete Buntine. Pete, you know this issue. Just how bad are these shortages, and how much is that impacting flight delays right now?
Well, we're not totally out of the woods just yet, Wolf, on day 8 of the shutdown, and the Federal Aviation Administration is holding a planning teleconference, a conference call in about an hour's time. We know that Newark Approach Control, a facility that has been plagued by problems and staffing shortages for months now, was a concern earlier today during the morning shift because of short staffing. That has now dropped off the list, although on Tuesday we saw so many air traffic control facilities on the list of concern by the FAA that we typically don't see on the list. We're talking Houston, Dallas, Boston, Indianapolis, Philadelphia. And then there were the really big staffing problems, the delays at some of the country's busiest airports. At Chicago O'Hare, there was a ground delay program put in place. About a quarter of all flights delayed at Chicago O'Hare yesterday, a huge hub for American Airlines and United Airlines. Also at Nashville International Airport, the approach control facility there had to close down for about 5 hours, and the slack picked up by the control tower and the center facility in Memphis because of that. Not as dramatic as what we saw on Monday, though. That's when the control tower at Hollywood Burbank International Airport closed down for several hours, a condition known as ATC 0, essentially turning that large airport into what would be an uncontrolled airport that's typically used at smaller airfields around the country. I want you to listen now to NATCA Union President Nick Daniels. He says this is not part of some coordinated sick out, but you have to remember that 11,000 air traffic controllers are working without pay essentially right now in this government shutdown. There's already a nationwide shortage of air traffic controllers, and just a few of them, a handful of them calling out sick, can have an outsized impact. Listen.
Politicians are the only people that can end a shutdown. What you're going to see is the stress, pressure, and fatigue that air traffic controllers have to contend with, the very difficult world of managing this system already critically staffed and then wondering where our pay is going to come from and having that steady stream of income. That's the impact that I'm worried about.
Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy insists that flying is safe right now, and the Federal Aviation Administration will put into place these delays in case of a decrease in safety. They have to make it safe by putting into place these delays. By the way, air traffic controllers got their last full paycheck just this last Tuesday. Next Tuesday, they get one more paycheck, but it's a partial paycheck for work they have already done before the government shutdown begins. That'll be their last one, Wolf.
Yeah, it's day 7 of this government shutdown. It's only going to get worse if it goes on day after day after day. Pete Montine, thank you very, very much. Pete over at Reagan National Airport.
Ready to... All right, so you hear from CNN that the air traffic controllers, the ones that be, waving the planes in and making them go out when they're departing, yeah, some of them are calling out sick. Okay, so, do you blame them? Do you really blame them? They're working for free. And this was 2 weeks ago, by the way. Okay, it's gotten worse since then. Okay, that's why he said this was day 7. It's actually day 20. That's what I'm saying. These people are working for free. And these are people that are directing air traffic in the sky, guys. This might not be a safe time to fly right now. You know why? Because the pilots are tired because they're being overworked. And there's a lot of mistakes that can happen when you don't have air traffic controllers controlling air traffic. People get overworked, they get burned out, and they want to make money. So some of them probably, like that lady was saying previous, they take on other side gigs to get more money coming in because they're not getting anything, guys. You can't just stop people's pay and think that that's going to be something that's going to be beneficial for America, because it's not. It's going to make things even worse. Okay, but anyway, let's keep going.
Join the booming cruise industry? Become an Expedia Cruises franchisee. You'll be part of the...
All right, so more airports are expected to see short staffing again today. Staffing shortages caused Nashville's air traffic control tower to go dark last night. It's one of the many airports across the country where the shutdown's impact is being felt. At Chicago O'Hare, flights were delayed by up to 40 minutes yesterday.
We knew we were going to be delayed, and we didn't know when we were going to get here, actually. On the plane, unfortunately, I found that my flight to Cleveland been pushed back for 2.5 hours, so I'll be here with you a little longer today.
I know there's been some instances of planes coming really close to each other, or having to circle, or things getting delayed, and I'm on a work trip right now, so it concerns me about being safe and also about getting home.
Joining us now to discuss Democratic Congresswoman Hillary Scholten, a member of the House Transportation and Infrastructure Committee. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Now, one thing I'll say is that the Transportation Secretary, Sean Duffy, he has been out there. He has been on top of this, even going back to some of the flight collisions and things like that. Here is how he is kind of framing what's going on. I want you to hear it.
And again, Burbank, 0 controllers came to work. I don't support that. They should come to work. They're supposed to come to work. But they didn't even miss a paycheck yet. So why aren't they coming to work? It's
0 controllers came to work. None of them showed up for work. Do you know what kind of a disaster that would be for an airport when you have nobody controlling air traffic in the sky?
only been 6 days. So, the paycheck, the pay cycle ended yesterday, right? Their paychecks come next week, and they see what's on the horizon, Brian. They're like, listen, do I see a resolution of the shutdown? I don't see it.
You can tell by the fact that he does not have an answer there. He's stuttering. He's falling all over himself. So they know they're in the wrong here. This administration needs to reopen the government so that the American people can get back to business as usual. I flew in yesterday and we experienced delays. The holidays are coming up. This is going to continue to impact the American
But is the pain
people.
the point for Democrats? Meaning the more it looks like disarray, the more you were able to say, look, this is their fault.
Absolutely not. This government shutdown is about fighting for a budget that the American people deserve and fighting for health care. The Republicans control all three branches of government. They could reopen the government today if they did one thing that 78% of the American people support, and that is continuing to extend the ACA tax credits. You hardly get to a place of unanimity like that among the American electorate, yet 78% of the American people support it. So why wouldn't we fight
But
for
do you
something
hear
that
any
the American
murmurings of a
people want?
conversation? We heard the
Look at what the
president sort of
president said
allude to
yesterday.
the idea that Democrats are talking. Do you know anything?
Look at what the president said yesterday. He knows this is a big deal. Premiums across the country could go up by as much as 75%.
But is there a conversation happening to end this crisis for Americans?
We are at the table. I am literally here in Washington because we were supposed to be voting this week. And I told my constituents I'm going to continue to show up, but they're not even at the table. This is not going to resolve unless Republicans show up. Respectfully, they're acting like children. I'm the mother of 2 boys, and my kids have better respect for the rules of negotiation, right? They need to be at the table, and they need to be talking about the ways that we can get this done.
Does it help to have someone like Marjorie Taylor Greene speak up for health care subsidies?
It helps to have anyone speak up for advocating for affordable health care for the American people. And certainly, you're seeing them in disarray. They're scrambling. The president is talking about addressing health care. Marjorie Taylor Greene is talking about addressing health care. 78% of the American people are talking about addressing healthcare. Why wouldn't we do this?
Well, you're making it sound easy, but we're still at a standstill. So
we certainly are, but Republicans, again, I wish we had as much power as they think we have and are trying to hand over to us, but they control all 3 branches of government. Under what iteration of the facts, are we responsible for opening the government? It's just simply a matter of fact.
The stunning.
All right, so you heard it from them how much of a disaster this is. People are not even coming to work at the airport. And these are people that are required to be there, guys. You can't just not have air traffic controllers at the airport because planes can collide. If they're not signaling to the pilots when those planes are supposed to be coming in and when they're departing, that's kind of like what happened back in January at the Reagan airport, where the plane was coming in and the helicopter was coming. They just didn't see each other. Again, overworked. And they always want to blame Democrats for this. Okay, that's what kills me about all of this. When we already know who president is in office right now. We know who has the vote right now, right? But again, they just can't help themselves. But like I said, we're going to keep an eye out on this. This is really bad, guys. This is really, really bad. But now the last topic we're going to talk about is the SNAP benefits. It's just a small segment talking about over 600,000 people may lose those benefits. Let's go ahead and listen in on this as well, and then I'll let you know how I feel about this as well.
We are tracking fallout from the federal government shutdown that is hitting very close to home tonight. I'm glad to have you with us this Thursday evening. I'm Shannon Ogden. Now, SNAP benefits for tens of thousands of Coloradans now are in limbo. Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program benefits could run out next month if lawmakers don't reopen the government. More than 500,000 Coloradans receive SNAP benefits, including nearly 290,000 right here in the Denver metro. That includes Adams, Arapahoe, Boulder, Denver, and Jefferson counties. Tonight, Denver 7's Claire LaVazorio is listening to concerns in Jeffco, where people are worried that time is running out.
At a pantry in Lakewood, Naoki Matsumoto is stocking up on food for the week.
It's very difficult right now.
In addition to places like the Action Center, Matsumoto is a SNAP benefit recipient, a program helping low-income families purchase healthy food.
They allow us to get fresh produce, which is very important.
But as the government shutdown drags on, the USDA is warning food stamp funds will dry up, leaving more than 289,000 people across Metro Denver in limbo for November.
And that's just Colorado, guys.
Benefits. Counties like Jefferson posting this notice on its Department of Human Services page, warning families the issuance of future benefits depends on Congress's action to resume federal appropriations in November and beyond.
No one knows, if or when things are going to become stable again.
Amid the uncertainty, Denver 7 asked Jefferson County how it's connecting families with other resources. A spokesperson deferring us to Colorado's Department of Human Resources. That office declined an interview with Denver 7, but provided this statement, saying this means that more than 600,000 Coloradans who depend on SNAP benefits to buy healthy, nutritious food might not receive their November benefits or experience significant delays. The state directing those in need of immediate assistance to call 211 or find resources through Feeding Colorado, a coalition of food banks across our state. Food Bank of the Rockies is a part of that coalition. The organization told Denver 7 this week that it's preparing to step up to fill the need.
I hope we do not get past October 31st and that we can come to a bipartisan resolution.
Matsumoto is hopeful the shutdown ends sooner than later, so he and other Coloradans can keep their benefits and healthy food on the table.
You'll have to figure something out.
Claire Lavazorio, Denver 7.
We reached out to the governor's office, and in a statement, Governor Polis said, our state is looking at all options for helping feed families in need and is currently having conversations about the negative impacts this will create and how to support people should the federal government not reopen.
All right, guys, so that's just a small segment about the SNAP benefits. And again, that's just Colorado. That's one example out of the other 49 states is going to be impacted. So just imagine every state going through this, guys. You know, it's I can't stress it enough. You know, I'm really, I don't think people understand. This is bad. This is really, really bad. We're going to keep an eye out on all of this, though, going into Thursday, and kind of look at to see. Hopefully, they'll make a resolution pretty soon, because I'm telling you, when people are not getting money, I'm telling you, that's when you'll start seeing crime go up. You'll start seeing people become more desperate, and that's my concern too. Is the violence. You know, hopefully things don't get out of control to the point where people start doing some stuff out of desperation, you know. So, but anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this content. If you enjoyed the content, please hit like, share, and subscribe. And also, if you can, please hit the notification bell. That way you won't miss any episodes every time I come on to YouTube. I will be back on Thursday at 8 p.m. We're going to go even deeper with the political climate. And again, thank you for everybody who joined in on Saturday with the fun and entertainment with T as well. All right, guys. Well, everybody enjoy the rest of your night, and let's give it up. All right, guys. So again, I will see everybody Thursday. Everybody enjoy the rest of your week, and I'll talk with you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.